today we're going to talk a little bit more about fashion, and we're going to go through some different questions about like fashion issues and some maybe like my opinions and stuff.
Okay, our first question is, does fashion allow people to express their individuality or force people to conform? So firstly, I think it's a bit of an open-ended question because it's a yes and no answer, and I think that to be seen as an individual, you're also being labeled as a rebel.
I think that fashion can allow people to express their individuality, but it can also be a trap.
I strongly believe that fashion allows people to express their individuality through the way that they style certain objects or put outfits together in a way that's individual to them.
I definitely agree that to many young people, it's very hard to find themselves in the fashion world because there are so many trends and so many advertisements and so many things to tell you what you should look like and how you should dress like and how even to behave like. That's why it's very important for you to, throughout following these trends and stuff, you can find your own comfort zone and your own style.
I think most people that are shy and they rather introverted, they tend to just, wear it like how everyone else is wearing it. They don't really have that oomph to make it their own and bring out their personality. I think that people that are individuals and like to express their individuality have a lot of personality and have a lot of what's going for them. So they like to boast that I'm not conforming, which I actually think isn't a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. They're very strong-minded people and they're out there, so that's cool.
There are always people that feel as though they need to conform by dressing only in a certain way, which is sort of dictated by what's in the magazines or what's in the catwalks at the moment. But I think it's nice that there's often sort of a happy medium between the two, and a combination of people who like to stick to what's on trend and also what they like to wear and is individual to them.
I believe that as you get older, it will be easier to stick to your own style and your own comfort zone and not being dragged by the nose with the trends and stuff like that.
As Alexander McQueen said, fashion should be a form of escapism and not a form of imprisonment. So I think that everybody should use fashion to express their personality and individuality and not be trapped by the fashion.
Definitely, fashion is not something that you have to conform to, and it's definitely something that you can express yourself with and feel comfortable in and feel good in. The next thing that we're going to talk about is does fashion actually accommodate to people of all sizes, and what about plus size models? Are they really plus size? Well, for me, what I see mostly plus size models, they are really actually quite plus size, maybe UK 14 or even 16 up, 18 up. So I do believe that they are actually plus size.
Firstly, for me is, what is a plus size model? Because I really, I've seen women that are plus size, but I've also seen women that aren't. They don't have as much skin. Excuse me, but I say that they don't have as much skin, and they have been labeled either as curvy or plus size. And a very good example is Kate Upton, who isn't your normal model. And people have labels like, oh, she's so curvy, and she's not like a normal model. But then people have also like, oh, she's a plus size model, which I think is really wrong.
It's true that there are some plus-sized models, and famous fashion designers have used them in fashion shows. However, it's true that the majority of plus-size models don't reflect the average consumer size, so they are less plus-size than the ordinary plus-size women.
Really skinny models are underweight, and that's unhealthy, but equally unhealthy are the plus size models, which are probably overweight.
I've never seen a designer that has a model walking down the runway that's bigger, that looks like she eats, to put it simply. I think these models are very much scrawny. Whether they walk back or front, you can't tell the difference because they're so flat chested. There's nothing going on at all for them.
Also, not so many plus size models are used in fashion shows, they are mainly used in advertising, photography, for sunglasses, watches, for household products, etc.
I think that overall fashion isn't that accommodating to women of all different shapes and sizes, but I think that it is taking the right steps to improve this, and this is demonstrated by the use of plus size models on websites and also widening the variety of plus size clothing on the high street in particular.
I don't think that fashion accommodates for it. I think there's a lot of emphasis on being healthy and fit.
I definitely think that fashion and all the fast fashion brands and the big brands like Zara, H&M, Topshop and stuff, they definitely do accommodate to people of all sizes, and there are many different brands accommodating different shapes, like petite brands or like plus size brands, and there are actually a lot of different options for people to choose from.
I think that fashion doesn't accommodate to women of all shapes and sizes. Most of the clothes look very nice on fit and well-shaped bodies and are not suitable for every kind of body shape. For example, crop tops, they are very nice, but they're not for everyone.
I think that there needs to be much more sort of shown about women of all different shapes and sizes for this to improve and to have a bigger impact on the whole industry.
Is the fashion industry to blame for the level of anorexia in the Western world? That, for me, is you can't play the blame game anymore. We've come so far and the industry has evolved, and there's so much innovation within it. You can't play the blame game.
Anorexia is a very serious problem in the Western world nowadays. A lot of young women face this problem. However, I don't think that fashion is to blame for anorexia.
This is actually a very serious issue, but I believe that it's not just the fashion industry's fault. There are a lot of things out there that influences our behavior and how we perceive ourselves, including the fashion industry, but of course the movie industry, the music industry, even books and stuff. Basically anything that we can get our hands on, especially the internet, that's very influential nowadays.
I definitely agree that the fashion industry is in some way to blame for anorexia, particularly in the Western world, because nowadays models are seen as celebrity figures and are inspirational and aspirational to a lot of people out there, particularly impressionable young people. And if they're seeing them on a daily basis, pictures of them plastered everywhere, it's reinforcing this sort of idea that you should look this way to be popular and to be in the magazines, and then it leads to boys and girls starving themselves to look similar to these models.
When young people who are vulnerable to all these influences, they get very heavily influenced by how the media portrays beautiful people and how they should behave and how they should look like. So with fashion having so many underweight and skinny and perfect looking airbrush people in the campaigns is actually very influential, I believe.
Okay, the models are very skinny, but the clothes are appropriate for normal sized women. Everyone can find nice trendy clothes, whatever they like in their size, so I don't think that women become anorexic because of fashion.
There are other positive influences, especially more and more appearing nowadays on the internet, about actually being healthy and looking good and being comfortable with who you are. And I feel like if younger people are actually open to those options and actually see what the real truth about being healthy and looking good and being comfortable is, then fashion is definitely not the only thing to blame.
Of course, also in the high fashion industry, the models that parade down the catwalk are size 0 stick thin models, and this sort of gives the idea that these high-end luxurious items should only be worn by girls and boys that look a certain way, and that way is really skinny.
It comes down to the individual, the girl or the guy, and their morals and what they stand for. And if they want to be anorexic, let them be anorexic.
And lastly, we're going to talk about something positive, and which is like, what are the positive contributions that fashion actually have on young people?
I think that fashion can make a lot of positive contributions to a young person's life.
Yes, it does. I think that, especially when you're in your teen years, it's a form of self-expression. You find yourself, and it's a lot of fun.
Like I said before, fashion is something that you can either conform to or use to express your individuality. So at first, maybe younger people would just use fashion to be something that to make them look good. Like, you know, you feel good in a dress, or like you love these shoes and you feel confident in them. And that's probably the first and foremost positive contribution that fashion can make on younger people.
A young person can choose the clothes and accessories that they like, so they can express their personality and creativity. They have the ability to create unique outfits, differentiate themselves from the others, and look fabulous.
Fashion makes so many positive contributions to anyone's life, but particularly young people's lives, as it's a way to let your creativity flow and interpret your own style through how you look, and, you know, have some sort of control over your outward appearances.
And it's also a way to build self-confidence. You know, being able to know what you like and know how to wear certain things, you're able to build self-confidence, the fact that you're not confused anymore when you're older.
Also, when like time goes on and they learn to actually make use of fashion, it could like totally just help with their creativity, in a sense that they might, you know, use it to express their feelings, how they're feeling that day. Like, for example, if I'm feeling sad that day, I might be wearing black. If I'm feeling confident that day, I want to wear my red pumps. That's definitely something that people would use to express themselves, but also to make themselves feel better.
Fashion can help a teenager have more self-confidence and self-esteem, and I think that fashion is valuable to a teenager's life.
It's also really easy to sort of interpret it for yourself and adapt it to whatever your budget or style, whether you're shopping at designers, high street stores, or at a charity shop. There's always a way to make it work for you, and I think that's why it's particularly good for the younger generation.